The docu-series, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, #1 on Netflix, ahead of Stranger Things. I mean, it is more successful than I imagined.
I gotta keep it so 100. I ain't never like you, cuz. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never like your I ain't never like you, cuz. You know I ain't like you. In the street, like, we ain't gonna talk about that on here, though.
Is there anybody 50 Cent fears ever, historically, in life?
You watch that guy that just has zero fear and say, yeah, we can get him. He tough. We're gonna have a hard time chewing on him, but we're gonna get him.
There's one man in the entertainment world who built a whole career off knowing things he probably shouldn't. A man who took 9 bullets and still walked.
Most of them in the legs, I got hit in the hand and I got hit in the face.
Pain-wise, how bad is it to get shot in the face?
Probably.
Is it a 10?
It's not really like as painful as having to visit the dentist repeatedly for root canal.
What is it still in your tongue?
Yeah, it's great for oral sex.
Did you ever find out who did it?
Yeah, I know who did it shortly after.
And they are now where?
The guy who actually shot me is dead.
A man who took down Diddy before the feds did.
Did he do it, right?
Yeah.
I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually. But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
Was there a reason you never went to those parties back in the day?
I'm just not with all that flicky shit. Like all of the stuff that he's doing, I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm just a little more, maybe you could say basic or normal.
A man who turned
trolling into a skill and turned information into one of the most dangerous weapons in hip-hop. Curtis of 50 Cent is Jackson doesn't move randomly, he doesn't post randomly, he doesn't speak randomly. Every word, every emoji, every Instagram caption, every deleted post, every interview response, it's all intentional. It all carries weight. And when 50 Cent chooses to talk about someone, really talk, not just joke or troll, you better pay attention. Because time and time again, history has shown that when 50 speaks, there's usually truth behind it. And right now, 50 Cent is speaking on Pooh Shiesty, not playing, not trolling, not dropping memes. He's speaking seriously, in interviews, on podcasts, even in private conversations that somehow leaked. And what he's saying about the Memphis rapper is sending shockwaves across the industry. Because 50 isn't labeling Shiesty as just hot-headed. He's not calling him reckless. He's not even calling him dumb. He's calling him something way more unsettling. He's calling him dangerous. Truly, deeply, fundamentally dangerous. The kind of danger that doesn't fade with age, money, or fame. The kind of dangerous the system itself isn't built to handle.
Contain.
Well, the most ruthless people that you run into are going to be people that are just focused and not necessarily taking your life into consideration while they're taking theirs. It's like the district attorney's office that she wants the conviction so she can move up, her career can be good. She'll give you 100 years. And you look, you go, why so much? Like, why you had to do that? And it was like, what? You did it. In her mind, it's her doing her job and her moving up to the next level, and she'll just knock you over. You just become collateral damage, you know? And there's more ruthless people in the business world than in the street.
Pooh Shiesty is the most ungrateful motherfucker I've ever seen in the rap game, bro. And there's a lot of niggas like that, bro. But that nigga Pooh Shiesty, bro, you heard Gucci's line, bro? I put the money in your commissary, bro. Nobody from Shiesty's side ever did that shit for him, bro. Shiesty, if it wasn't for Gucci, bro, he'd still be a street nigga, bro. He'd still be out there hitting little licks. He's a petty car thief, nigga. Nigga would be a petty car thief if it wasn't for fucking Gucci. Come on, bro. It's ungrateful as fuck, bro. It's ungrateful as hell. Yeah.
And when someone who survived 9 bullets tells you a man is dangerous, you don't question it. You listen. It all kicked off during an interview, a regular stop at the Breakfast Club to promote his latest project. DJ Envy, Charlemagne, Jess, same setup, same routine questions. How's the show doing? What's next for G-Unit Film and TV? You and Diddy ever gonna squash it? Standard stuff. 50 was relaxed, laughing, doing what he does best. Then Charlemagne slipped in a question. Casual, almost like an afterthought. He asked, "What do you think about this whole Pooh Shiesty situation?" The escape, the footage, everything. And instantly, something shifted, not in a loud or obvious way, not something every viewer would catch. But if you've watched enough 50 Cent interviews, you saw it. The smile didn't turn into a frown. It just disappeared. His face went neutral, his eyes flat. He leaned back slightly and paused. A full 3 seconds. And when 50 pauses like that, it means he's measuring every word. It means whatever he's about to say has been carefully filtered through a mind that knows exactly how powerful his voice is. What he said, paraphrasing here, was this. People don't really understand what that kid is. They see the music, the age, the braids, the tattoos, and they think they get it. They don't. What they're looking at is something the industry hasn't had to deal with before, and they're not ready for it. Charlemagne didn't let it go. He pushed further. What do you mean by that? And 50 leaned in and said, I've been around dangerous people my whole life. I grew up with them, I am one. But there's a difference between someone who becomes dangerous because of their environment and someone who is born that way. Most people are shaped by their surroundings. Some people shape the surroundings. That kid, he shapes the environment. The room went silent. And just like that, 50 switched topics like he hadn't just dropped one of the coldest statements anyone's made about Pooh Shiesty during this entire situation. Now, to really understand why 50's take on Shiesty carries so much weight, you've got to understand his connection to the world Shiesty comes from. 50 Cent and Gucci Mane go way back. Not best friends, not tight like that, but there's mutual respect. Two men who came from the streets, survived it, and built empires from nothing. That kind of bond, you can't fake it. Over the years, 50 has spoken about Gucci with a level of respect he rarely gives. He's praised Gucci's business mindset. He's acknowledged his resilience. He's pointed out how Gucci went to prison, came back, and built something even bigger, a path 50 himself walked. Because of that respect, 50 has always kept an eye on 1017. He's watched artists come and go. He's seen the label evolve. And he's studied the relationship between Gucci and his signes like someone who's been in that exact position, a label boss who knows every pressure point, every disagreement, every broken promise that can come with it. 50 has said in past interviews that he noticed Shiesty early. Not just because of the music, although he admitted the music was solid. It was something else, something you can't quite explain. He once described it as what's behind the eyes, that certain quality some people carry. A stillness, a readiness, a constant awareness that tells you this person operates on a level most people don't even reach. 50 recognized it because he has it himself. He recognized it because the men he grew up around in Southside Jamaica, Queens, the ones who didn't make it out, had it too. And he made it clear. It's not about aggression. It's not about anger. It's about capacity. The ability to take things to an extreme level without hesitation. According to 50, the moment he saw that in Shiesty, he already knew years before any of this unfolded that the story wouldn't end well. Not because Shiesty is a bad person, but because people with that kind of capacity, in that kind of environment, under that kind of pressure, don't usually get happy endings. The system just isn't built for it. In another interview, a podcast that didn't get nearly as much attention as The Breakfast Club, 50 went even deeper, way deeper. The host asked him to compare Shiesty to other street rappers. Where does he rank in authenticity? And actually living what he raps? 50's response? It made the room uncomfortable. You could see it. He said, don't compare him to rappers. That's your first mistake. Comparing him to rappers means you think he's acting. He's not. The music, that's the performance. Everything else is real. And when I say real, I mean the kind of real that doesn't have a ceiling, the host pressed him. What do you mean by no ceiling? 50 broke it down. Most people, even in the streets, even people who've done serious things, they have a limit. A boundary. A point where they stop and say, that's too far, that line looks different for everybody. For some it's family, for others it's women, for some it's kids, but there's always a line. Then he paused. I've met 3 people in my life who didn't have one. No internal stop, no limit, no governor, boo, governor. And 2 of those people are dead. The third, locked up. The host asked the obvious question. Is Shiesty one of those 3? 50 smiled. That same smile that never reaches his eyes. I said what I said. You do the math. He never directly named Shiesty. He didn't need to. He didn't need to. The context said everything. And the implication? That Shiesty belongs in a category with people who either didn't survive or ended up behind bars because they had no limits. That's one of the most disturbing takes anyone in hip-hop has made about this situation. Because 50 isn't some blogger guessing from the sidelines. This is a man who grew up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York. A man who survived multiple attempts on his life. A man who's looked real killers in the eye and didn't blink. And that same man is basically telling you that Pooh Shiesty makes him uneasy. Not directly, but everything around his words points there. Sources close to 50 circle say those interviews, The Breakfast Club, and the podcast weren't random at all. They were just the public version of conversations he'd already been having privately for weeks. And the most important of those, a reported call with Gucci Mane himself. Now neither 50 nor Gucci has confirmed it, but multiple insiders from both sides have described the same conversation, and the details line up enough to piece together what likely went down. The call reportedly happened after that CNN footage dropped, after the airport incident, after the SUV audio, after the transponder went dark. That's when 50 reached out to Gucci directly. No middlemen, no managers, straight call, because 50 realized something the rest of the industry hadn't caught yet. This wasn't just Gucci's problem anymore, this had turned into something much bigger. We're talking federal custody issues, international flights, private contractors, shell companies, sealed indictments. This situation had moved way past a simple label dispute. At that point, she sees unpaid royalties, almost irrelevant. What mattered was this: a person with no boundaries was now out in the world with resources, motive, and nothing left to lose. And according to those same sources, 50 told Gucci something that completely shifted how he looked at everything. He said, "You're thinking he's coming back for money. He's not. The money was just the reason. What he really wants is for you to feel what he felt, powerless. And he'll go as far as he needs to make that happen." That perspective that this isn't about money, it's about psychology, reportedly changed Gucci's entire approach. Because money problems, you can fix those, write a check, adjust the deal, clean it up, but you can't negotiate with someone whose goal is emotional, someone who wants you to feel something. That's not business anymore. That's something else entirely. And it demands a completely different kind of response. There's also a pattern 50 has been hinting at, something most people in hip-hop media haven't even picked up on yet, and it ties directly back to his own past. Back in the early 2000s, before the fame, before Get Rich or Die Tryin', before the deals and the empire, 50 found himself in a situation that wasn't all that different from what we're seeing between Shiesty and Gucci today. At that time, 50 was signed to Columbia Records through Jam Master
One night,
Jay.
me and a couple of my boys decided to go to Bentley's, an upscale hip-hop spot in Manhattan. We pulled up in my 400 SE Benz. Not many people had one. As I cruised past the club, out of nowhere, someone ran up on my car and slapped the hood. And my displeasure must have shown on my face. The guy quickly apologized. "I thought you was my man Kenny. He got the same whip." Once my alarm subsided, I took a good look at who was talking to me. It was Jam Master Jay from Run DMC, one of my heroes. I immediately pulled the car over, jumped out, and gave Jay a pound. I told him I was from South Jamaica and had always followed his career. He laughed and apologized again for running up on me, explaining he thought I was NBA star Kenny Anderson, another Queens native. I asked Jay if he was about to go into Bentley's. "No doubt, I'm about to run up in this spot and see what's up," he said. I decided to decisively seize the moment. "Yo, we coming with you," I told him. Jay looked at me and then said, "That's what's up, let's go." Just like that, we were past the bouncers and inside Bentley's. We would never have gotten in without him. He literally walked me into the music business. That night, Jay and I formed a friendship, which eventually led to me signing with JMJ Records.
The relationship
started to crack. Business disagreements popped up. People felt like they weren't getting paid what they deserved. And things didn't stay in the boardroom, they spilled into the streets. What followed was one of the most violent eras New York hip-hop has ever seen.
Hip-hop history.
Did Jam Master Jay really work with 50 to kind of help him structure his raps and everything?
Jam Master Jay taught 50 song
structure.
Structure.
Okay, were you there when that was happening?
And you got to think. No, I used to go to the studio. I went to the studio a couple of times, but I was selling drugs and I was busy. And Fifth, at that time he had a Benz, so that's what really caught on to the art of seduction. If a motherfucker already got money already, listen, a motherfucker only do favors for you when you don't need a favor. When I'm fucked up and I need a favor, motherfuckers ain't gonna give me no favor. But when I don't need a favor, a motherfucker's gonna do a favor for me. So Fifth already had money. He had a Mercedes-Benz 17, 16. He had a 4Runner, he had a Mercedes-Benz, he had cars already. He was doing everything a rapper do, had chains, had all that already. Running around with thousands. So Jay fucked with him because he seen him at the club in a big-ass Benz. Know what I'm saying? And rest in peace to Jay, man.
50
doesn't dive into that time often, but when he does, you can hear it the weight of someone who knows exactly how fast business issues in hip-hop can spiral into something deadly. He's lived both sides of it, the artist who felt cheated, and the boss with artists under him feeling the same way. And when 50 looks at the Shiesty situation, he sees a pattern. A pattern he knows from experience only ends 3 ways: prison, death, or one side completely destroying the other. In an interview that barely got attention, 50 said, "I see myself in parts of this. I see my younger self in Shiesty. The hunger or the anger, the mindset that you'll burn everything down if you feel disrespected. And I see who I am now in Gucci, the businessman who has too much to lose to react how the streets expect him to. The difference is, I grew out of being that first guy. I'm not sure Shiesty can." Huh? That line, "I'm not sure Shiesty can," coming from 50 Cent, a man who literally evolved from the streets into a mogul, that's not a diss, that's a diagnosis. What 50 is really saying is that the shift he made from dangerous to disciplined isn't something he believes Shiesty can pull off. Not because Shiesty isn't intelligent, but because whatever makes him dangerous is wired too deep to be changed by money, fame, or time. And then came the moment that broke the internet. Because with 50, it always circles back to Instagram. 3 days after the Breakfast Club interview, 50 posted a photo, a split screen, on the left Pooh Shiesty early in his career. Young, hungry, staring straight into the camera with that cold, emotionless look people know him for. On the right, this is where it got wild. A real wolf, not some cartoon, not a soft image, a real wolf, mid-stalk, low to the ground, eyes locked forward, muscles tight. The kind of picture that makes you feel uneasy just looking at it. The caption, 2 words, the same energy. The post stayed up for exactly 19 minutes. Long enough for screenshots to flood the internet. Short enough for 50 to play it off. Classic move, but the message was loud and clear. This wasn't an insult. It was a warning. A wolf doesn't attack because it's emotional. A wolf doesn't move out of anger. It attacks because that's what it is. It's built that way. It's instinct. It's in the DNA. You can cage a wolf, it's still a wolf. You can feed it every day, still a wolf. The environment doesn't change its nature, and 50 was basically telling the world, this isn't just a rapper who got in too deep. This isn't just a young guy making bad decisions. This is a predator moving on instinct, doing exactly what it's wired to do. Whether you agree with that take or not, coming from 50, it hits different. This is a man who spent his life around real danger. His words carry a weight most commentators simply don't have. But 50 isn't just talking about Shiesty as an individual. He's using him as an example, a warning to the entire industry. And that warning, IU created this. Over the past few weeks, 50 has been repeating one point again and again. The industry signs young men from tough environments, profits off their trauma, sells their street image, and then acts shocked when that same reality shows up in real life. On a recent podcast, 50 said, "You sign a man because he's dangerous. You market him as dangerous. You build campaigns around that image. And then you're surprised when he's dangerous to you. That's not shocking, that's the result." And honestly, he's not wrong. Everything about Pooh Shiesty's image, the name, the music, the branding, the online presence was built around authenticity. Around the idea that what he rapped about was real. 1017 leaned into it, blogs pushed it, streaming platforms amplified it. Everyone ate off the idea that Shiesty was the real deal, and now that he's shown just how real things can get, escaping federal custody, leaving the country, allegedly making threats, moving like someone with nothing left to lose, the same people who hyped that authenticity are now shaken by it. 50 sees that contradiction clearly. And he's making sure nobody ignores it. He said, the industry doesn't want real. They want the look of real. They want someone who looks dangerous on camera, but acts safe in meetings. They want the image without the consequences. But when the consequences show up, suddenly they want to call the police. That critique goes way beyond Shiesty. It hits every label that's ever signed a street artist, profited off their story, and then stepped back when things got messy. It's a system that sells trauma. then punishes the people living it. And 50, someone who's been on both sides of that line, is in a rare position to call it out. He's not speaking theory, he's speaking from experience. But here's the part that really sticks, because there's something 50 isn't saying. Something he's clearly holding back. And honestly, that silence might be louder than anything he's already said. Across every interview, every podcast, every conversation about this situation, 50 keeps hinting that he knows more than he's sharing. Not in a flashy way, not for attention. In a careful, controlled way that suggests whatever he knows comes with consequences. On The Breakfast Club, when Charlemagne pushed for more, 50 said, "There are things about this I can't speak on yet. The timing isn't right." On a podcast, when asked if he knew where Shiesty was, he didn't deny it. He said, "I know things that would change this whole conversation, but saying them right now would put people in positions they don't want to be in, including me, including him." Think about that. This is 50 Cent, a man who survived 9 shots, who's gone head-to-head with some of the biggest names in entertainment, who's laughed off threats most people would run from. And he's being careful. That alone tells you how serious this is. So what does 50 actually know? Some believe he knows Shiesty's location, that his network, which stretches across industries and countries, tipped him off, and he's staying quiet to avoid being pulled into a federal situation. Others think he knows who financed everything, the shell companies, the contractors, the jet, and that whoever's behind it is powerful enough to make even 50 move cautiously. And then there's another theory, that 50 isn't just looking at what's happened. He knows what's coming next. That the next phase of this situation involves players and stakes the public hasn't even imagined yet. If that's true, then 50 is doing what he always does, staying visible, but never exposed. Talking just enough to stay relevant, but never enough to become the target. It's classic 50. And now we get to something people aren't really saying out loud. Because there might be another reason 50 is suddenly this vocal about Pooh Shiesty, and it might not be just about concern. It might be about content. Right now, 50 Cent is one of the biggest names in true crime entertainment. His company, G-Unit Film and Television, has been behind major documentaries covering Diddy, hip-hop culture, criminal stories. He even turned the Diddy situation into a multi-part Netflix series that broke streaming records.
Docu-series, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, #1 on Netflix, ahead of Stranger Things. I mean, it is more successful than I imagined people even thought it would be. What's your response to how well it's doing?
But they did characterize it as a hit piece in the very beginning, is because they didn't get a chance to watch it, you know, when they were saying that. And then after they see it, you see everyone's changed their mind, and it becomes the #1 doc.
The man doesn't just observe.
Not all. Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as hip hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
What's your intent with the series, with the film?
I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than answers given. And I think that it was important to both of us to preserve the culture of hip hop, because I think all too often when projects like this are made, our culture is diminished, you know. This is a story that I think a lot of people want to kind of rain down on the culture of hip hop as a whole, and they forget that these are the actions and the allegations of one man. Sean Combs has a lot of things that he's going to continue to have to work out, but he also contributed to the culture, and that was also important. So I hope that the takeaway is that sometimes things are, you know, it's more than meets the eye. And there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of nuance to stories, and I feel like we tried to put all those layers in as much as we could.
And he's about
This man doesn't just watch stories unfold, he turns them into business. And in the Pooh Shiesty situation, you're looking at one of the biggest stories modern hip-hop has seen. A label dispute that turned into a confrontation that turned into alleged threats. Those threats escalating into a federal escape, and that escape turning into an international manhunt, FBI involvement, CNN coverage, leaked footage from multiple angles, and major names all tied into the narrative. If you're 50 Cent, a producer who's already proven he can flip real-life hip-hop drama into high-level content, this isn't just news. This is a goldmine. This is a full docuseries waiting to happen. This is the kind of project that follows the Diddy documentary and locks G-Unit Film in as the top player in hip-hop true crime. And trust 50 knows it. Every interview he's doing right now is playing two roles at once. On one side, he's positioning himself as someone who understands the situation better than anyone. On the other, he's quietly building hype for something bigger. He's speaking facts and marketing at the same time. And he does it so smoothly, you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Now, sources say 50's team has already had early talks with streaming platforms about a Pooh Shiesty project. Nothing official yet, no signed deal, no production announcements. But the conversations, they're happening. The interest, it's real. And with every public appearance, 50 is setting the stage. So when he says Pooh Shiesty might be the most dangerous man in hip-hop, is that genuine concern from someone who's seen this pattern before? Knowing 50, it's probably both. Because 50 Cent has never separated doing the right thing from making money off it. He warned people about Diddy and then turned that into a documentary. He told the story and got paid for it. 23, 52, 25, 40 clip, and now he looks ready to do the same with Pooh Shiesty. But before we wrap this up, there's one last thing 50 said, and it might be the most important. Not in a big interview, and not on The Breakfast Club. This was on Instagram Live, late at night, barely 2,000 viewers tuned in. The kind of moment where 50 speaks because he wants to, not because there's an audience. Someone in the comments asked, "You think they're gonna catch Shiesty?" 50 read it out loud. Paused, nodded slowly. "They'll catch him," he said. They always catch them. The question isn't if they catch him, it's what condition he's in when they do. Because a man like that, a man with nothing to lose and nowhere to go, he's not built to surrender. I've known men like that my whole life. They don't put their hands up, they don't come quietly, they go out the same way they lived, and the people around them become collateral. Then he paused again, looked straight into the camera. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Because he's still somebody's son. He's still somebody's father. Then he's still somebody's father. And no matter what's happened, there's a mother in Memphis who just wants her son home alive. I hope he makes it. And just like that, he ended the live. No jokes, no trolling, no promo. Just a man who's been through everything, talking about someone who might not make it through what's coming. That moment. That rare, unfiltered moment from someone who almost never drops his guard, it says everything. 50 doesn't usually hope for people. He doesn't show vulnerability on camera. He doesn't express concern for someone he barely knows, unless he believes the ending won't be good. Unless he's seen this story before in his neighborhood, in his life, in the faces of people who burn too fast and too bright. Unless he knows from experience that this path doesn't lead anywhere good. Yeah. And now we're all watching, hoping he's wrong, even though history says he usually isn't. Because 50 has been right before. About Diddy, about the industry, about the people behind the scenes. Time after time, when people laughed, he ended up being right. And now he's saying something heavy. That Pooh Shiesty isn't just another artist, but possibly the most dangerous figure the industry has created. Not the most talented, not the most successful, the most dangerous. A man without limits, a wolf surrounded by dogs. Someone the system wasn't designed to control and might not be able to stop. Whether this turns into a documentary, a real-life tragedy, or both, we're about to find out. Because when 50 Cent speaks, smart people pay attention. The real question isn't how dangerous Pooh Shiesty is. That's already been answered. The real question is, what happens when a man with nothing left to lose decides he's not coming back? And that answer might be the most chilling part of all. Like, subscribe, share, and keep Memphis in your prayers.